Okay, so you should be on the page that says quartiles and box plots. Quartiles and box plots. That's what I want everybody. Okay, keep your head up. All right. So today we're going to focus on creating box and whisker plots. Box and whisker plots. So we're going to talk about quartiles. So the word quartile kind of sounds like the word quarter. So quartile means that it divides the data into 4 sections, much like a quarter. I would write that down. A quartile divides your data into 4 sections. You with me? A quartile divides your data into 4 sections. So shown below are the scores of 16 students. 16 students. The first thing that we need to do is find the middle. So what is the middle of 16 or half of 16? 8. So here's another way, instead of going like one off the bottom, one off the top, if you just count 8 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the middle is right after, like that's the halfway. So there's no middle number. That means we have to find the average between these two. 73 plus 74 divided by 2 is 73.5. This is our median. Okay. All right. The range, which is identified for us again, defined as the difference between the largest data value and the smallest. The range, well, my largest data point is 98, and my smallest data point is 98 minus 52 is 46. Okay. Another name for the largest is the maximum. We call it our max. And the minimum, yeah, we call it our max and our mins. Good job. So the maximum minus the minimum equals the range. I want you to write that down as well, because we're going to calculate max and mins today, and I want you to know why. It tells you your range. Okay. I'm going to show you. We're not going to do it. Desmos is going to do it all for us, which is fabulous. Okay. Heads up. Pick your head up, Jaden. Okay. What is the median? So it says, what is the median of the lower half? This is the first quartile. So we're just going to focus on this lower half right here. What is the middle number of this lower half? Well, how many numbers are in this lower half? There are 8 numbers in here. Yeah, you have to count the 73. So the middle is going to be in between. So what number is in between 66 and 68? 67. So Q1 equals, I'm going to show the math, 66 plus 68 divided by 2, but yes, the middle number is 67. I was actually being a little like, what's between 66 and 68? I was like 67. It is 67. That's exactly how we do that. No, I'm talking about like, you said what's in the middle. I was thinking of like, you know how 4 is in between 5 and 3? It's the same. That's what we're doing. It really is. So sometimes it just is a nice number, and sometimes it's a decimal. So the upper quartile, which is known as the third quartile, the median of the upper half. So there's 8 numbers here. So I'm looking for 83. So Q3 equals 82 plus 84 divided by 2, which is 83. 83. Okay. So that's pretty much the 5-number summary: the minimum, the maximum, the median, Q1 and Q3. And we use the 5-number summary to create our box plot. And it sometimes is called a box and whiskers if it has things sticking out of the edges. Okay. So we're going to use the same data above and calculate our box and whisker plot. We're going to draw it. So I'm going to just rewrite that data so I don't have to keep scrolling up. So what did we say that our minimum value was? 52. And then we calculated a Q1 value. What was that? Okay. And then we calculated a median. What was that? 73.5. And then we calculated our Q3 and our maximum. This right here is the 5-number summary. That's all the information that you need to create a scatter or to create a box plot. So we have to decide how we want to count or label our numbers on that number line. And we have to decide what each grid line, like the space between, represents, because the increments have to be the same. So I don't have enough grid lines to count by 2s. You want to count by 3s? So if I started at 52, 3 more would be, and then keep going. Slow down. 73, okay. Okay.
79.
All right.
82. Then 85. Then 88. And then 91. 94.
Perfect. So is that going to capture all of our data? It's not. Do you see that? Do we want to count by 4s or can we just count by 5s? Okay. So we're going to count by 5s. I started at 50 and then I skipped this one and I marked it as 60. Skipped one, 70. Sorry. Skipped one, 80. Skipped one, 90. Skipped one, 100. You would have enough if you counted by 4s. We counted by 4s the last class period. It just got to be too much. Okay. So I always start off with my minimum. So my minimum is 52. That's going to be in between 50 and 55. I'm just going to draw a bar closer to the 50 than it is the 55, and I'm going to label it as my min. Okay. So just draw a bar closer to the 50 than the 55. Then I'm going to go to my Q1, which is 67. So this is 65 and this is 70. So 67 is going to be closer to the 70. And I'm going to label that Q1. And I'm going to connect these two with a whisker because your minimum and your Q1 are joined by a whisker, a line. And now we're going to start forming our box, the box portion of our plot. So what is our median? So it's going to be in between 70 and 75, but closer to the, yeah. So that's the first part of my box. And I'm going to label that line that I drew as my median. And I just abbreviate that MED. Now I'm going to go to my Q3 and draw a line. Q3, that's at 83, so closer to 85 than it is to 80. And I'm going to finish up my box. And then my maximum between 95 and 100 is 98, closer to the 100. This is my maximum. And I'm going to add my whisker. Yep. Thank you so much, ma'am. Add my whisker. Okay. right. So that is our box and whisker plots. I always go back. You don't have to. You don't have to because you wrote all of your numbers here. You wrote your 5-number summary. But I typically go back and I label the bottoms of my bars. So I would label this as 52. I would label this as 67, 73.5, 83, and 98. But again, you don't have to as long as you have your 5-number summary written by your box plot. Does that make sense? What do you guys think about that? Pretty easy, right? Okay. Yeah. We're just finding the middle, and then we find the middle of the lower part and the middle of the upper part, and that's it. Okay, so we're just finding a bunch of the middles. Alrighty. Thank you so much, Rosa. Okay, so let's go to the next page. Let's go to the next page. And we're going to do that exact same thing. We're going to find our 5-number summary. So I'm going to list all the things that you tell me I need in my 5-number summary. So what are those things? Yeah, I totally forgot that. Thank you so much. So I need my minimum. Minimum. I'm going to do Q. I kind of try to do it in order that I graph it.
Minimum, quartile 1, median,
Awesome.
quartile 3, and then max.
Perfect. I love it. Okay. So Xavier, what is the minimum number in the data set? Perfect. So I write it in order that I graph it, but the next thing I have to find is either the maximum or the median. So Will, what is the maximum number in the data set? Perfect. All right, so now let's find the middle number. So I can think of this 2 ways. I can say 15 divided by 2 is what? 7.5. So the number that comes after the 7th one is the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the middle, and I can check it to make sure I have 7 numbers on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or I can do that 1 from the bottom, 1 from the top. I can do that whole cross 1 from the bottom, 1 from the top, whatever you guys like best. But this is the median, 26. So now I'm going to look at the lower half. This is the lower half. How many numbers are in the lower half? 7. So the middle number in the lower half is 18. It has 3 below it, 3 above it. That means my Q1 is 18, and I'm going to label it Q1. 37. Yeah, if I look at my upper level, this one is 37. That's my Q3. And that's it. That's all we need. Okay. So we don't have a number line. We're just going to kind of draw a sketch. So I'm just going to make my bar for my minimum. And then I'm just going to have a little tail. So there's only 2 units apart. Then I'm going to draw my Q1. And I'm beginning my box. My Q1 and my median, that's 8 units. So I'm going to go to about here. Sketch. Don't get all caught up on if it doesn't look perfect. We don't have a number line to work with. And then my median to my Q3 is 11 units. So I try to make this second half a little bit bigger, the box, than the first half. Doesn't have to be perfect. Don't get all caught up on that. And then the distance between my Q3 and my max, well, that's definitely bigger than my first whisker. So I just label it like that, max. Again, you can put the numbers below it. Don't have to. 16, 18, 26, 37, and 44. Okay. What do you think? Good? Do you guys feel like this is easy peasy? Okay. So Mr. Quimet's physical science class took a quiz. The results of the quiz are down below. So what was the median score? Looking at the box plot, what was the median? Say it again. 70, we're counting by, this is 72, 74. So what is this? 71. The median score was 71. What was the range? That's my max minus my min. $84 minus 53 equals what? 31. My range is 31. What score, this is such a great question. What score was greater than or equal to 75% of the test scores? So I'm going to go back up to this box plot. And we said that this box plot is, sorry, that's me moving my computer. It has quartiles. And what does each quartile do? It divides your graph into what? Quarters, right? So if you think about in terms of percentages, which is 25%, so 75% is what number? It's the Q3. So 75% is the Q3, which is what? 76. Okay. So what would 25% be? I know it's not asking that, but what would 25% be? What's the first 25 stop at? What number is this? Say it, Cheyenne. Yeah, it's my Q1, which equals 64. What is 50% going to be? What's the number? And it's called the what? It's called the median. I want you to know what those represent. 25% is Q1. 50% is your median. 75% is Q3. Mr. Clement regularly sets the passing grade on his quizzes to be the score of the lower quartile. So the score of the lower quartile, that's Q1, is 64. So anyone with a score of 64 or higher passes. Anyone with a score of 64 or higher passes. So this last question, it's going to be important to determine if this is asking you for which one has the greatest median. If you were just to look at the graphs, just glance at the graphs, which one of these do you think has the biggest median, the largest median? Quickly, what do you think? 2? That's not what I wanted you to say, but yeah. 3. When you glance at it, you think it's 3, don't you? Mackenzie, you're right. But when you glance at it, you think it's 3. What I want you to realize is, how are they counting? This one is counting by 5s. So this would be 30. Okay. What about number 3, Olivia? How is number 3 counted? This one is being counted by 2s. 12, 14, 16, 18. So this is 22, my median. It's counting by 10s. 10, 20. So this median is 40. And what about this last one? How are they counting? By 1s. So this median is 7. So I had a student last class period say, I don't understand how you determine that. I can't tell by looking. And I said, that is such a great question. So I highlighted a chunk of this graph right here. So between 50 and 100, what is the difference? Well, that's 50 points. How many spaces are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 50 divided by 5 is 10. That's how you determine how they're counting. And that works on every single one. The difference between 60 and 40 is 20. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So that tells me that they're counting by 5s. So that's kind of a tool, especially if they're counting by something weird like 2.5. Sometimes that's hard to distinguish, okay? Because if you have a bunch of decimals, you might need to count by like a 2.5. All right? Okay.